school.
Di peringkat menengah pula, kita telah mengadakan IT Animated ASEAN Culture Competition. Pertandingan ini mengetengahkan cerita-cerita animasi yang menunjukkan budaya murni negara-negara ASEAN, memfokuskan kepada kesedaran terhadap tanggungjawab berkomuniti atau bermasyarakat. Umumnya maksudnya bukan setakat bermasyarakat di kalangan dalam negara, tetapi dia tanggungjawab bermasyarakat dalam kalangan negara-negara ASEAN.
Dan selain daripada itu, aktiviti-aktiviti seumpama taklimat, jarayawara juga dilaksanakan, malah bukan sahaja di peringkat Kementerian Pendidikan, ada penglibatan-penglibatan di luar Kementerian Pendidikan seperti Jabatan Penerangan.
Antara objektif utama Jarawara Kenali ASEAN ini adalah bertujuan untuk menyebarluaskan maklumat mengenai ASEAN, bukan sahaja kepada masyarakat di negara ini tapi juga masyarakat di arena serantau. We also want to emphasize on meningkatkan semangat patriotisme dan semangat kesepaduan penuntut-penuntut supaya bisa tahu latar belakang mengenai ASEAN, visi dan misi ASEAN.
Now I know why we have to know about ASEAN in school. I hope we can all be friends with other ASEAN countries. By that, we can have one vision, one identity, one community. Thanks for watching. Till next time. Bye!
Sa lahat ng ating natunghayan, malinaw ang mensaheng nais iwan ng ASEAN sa mga mamamayan nito na ang pagpapahalaga sa kinabukasan ay atin lamang makakamtan kung sama-sama nating huhubugin ang mga kabataan. Marami pong salamat sa inyong panonood. Muli ako po si Diane Kirer at ito ang ASEAN Spotlight TV.
This is the ASEAN we know today. Home to 600 million people. It is a home of the world culture diversity. It is home of the world's greatest temple. Home of the world's greatest ocean and waterways. Home of the world's fastest growing region. Home of $3 trillion of trade. It all started when foreign ministers from 5 Southeast Asian proclaimed the establishment of ASEAN on August 8, 1967. Over the years, ASEAN has extended its members from 5 to 10 countries by the end of the millennium. Since her birth, ASEAN envisioned a regional peace, accelerate economic growth, and foster social coherence through democratic process. The vision of ASEAN got even bolder, which is to take ASEAN as a global nation in 2015 and beyond. Let us all reach and reap our maximum by working together as a single community of nations.
Throughout these years, we're solved, working hard together for a true community. The love, diversity, bridging all the differences, a sense of unity. Let us move ahead, hand in hand as one. Let our virtue stand and face the challenges of time. Let us move integrate as one to
future's ours. We have the strength. We shall find the peace within ourselves and with the world. And as we strive in our sharing this one vision of a true community. Let us move ahead, hand in hand as one. Let our virtues face the challenges of time. Let us move ahead, unite as one to a nation, community, prosperity, peace and harmony. Every soul working hard together for our community. Sense of unity. Let us move ahead, hand in hand as one. Let our virtues stand and face the challenges of time. Let us move ahead into great as one to a nation, community, peace and harmony. To a nation, community, prosperity, peace and nation, community, prosperity, peace and harmony.
Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
In today's Culture Express, First Lady Mia Trump listened to traditional Chinese songs and helped bake an American apple pie during a visit to an elementary school in Beijing. Traditional Chinese tableware becomes a hot global trend following this year's welcome banquet at the 9th BRICS Summit in Xiamen. World-famous violinist Itzhak Perlman performs to a packed house at the National Center for the Performing Arts here in Beijing. And the 2017 Country Music Awards marks one of its most political and emotional shows in years, during a year dominated by gun violence, divisive politics, and natural disasters. That and much more coming. Hello again. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Culture Express here on CGTN. Live in Beijing, I'm Jennifer Shung. Well, students at a Beijing elementary school must be feeling pretty special. They recently played host to some very important guests, the First Ladies of China and the United States. Peng Liyuan and Melania Trump paid a visit to Bencheng Elementary School on Thursday. The First Ladies attended English, astronomy, and baking classes, to name a few, and even took part in the students' cultural performances. Here's a look at that.
Pupils at Bancheng Elementary School in Beijing had two very special visitors on Thursday. First Ladies Peng Liyuan and Trump. At the gate, Peng and Trump waved to students who held the flags of the two countries. Peng and Trump observed various classes at the school, including English, Peking opera, and astronomy. The First Ladies, both famous for their trend sense, helped students finish making qi pao, or changsam, dresses. They also participated in painting class, as economics, where they baked Chinese snacks and U.S.-style apple pies. Students proudly presented examples of their calligraphy and handmade models of ancient Chinese architecture. Peng said that the friendship between the two rooted and has a long history. The two First Ladies agreed that children in China and the U.S. should know more about each other and make friends. To wrap up the visit, Peng and Trump watched students recite English and Chinese songs. Bancheng is a public school in Beijing's Dongcheng. It was established 70 years ago and has made notable progress in quality-oriented education. Analysts say Thursday's visit is a reflection of its emphasis on fair access to good education for every child. Tom Hong, CGTN.
A very special visit indeed. And like many visitors to China, President Trump's first stop in Beijing was also to the ancient Forbidden City. A fellow American, Dr. Nancy Berliner from the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, has been working at the historic site for over 10 years now. She says her goal is to help preserve and celebrate her. Well, we recently caught up with Dr. Berliner for an inside look at her work.
I'm Nancy Berliner. I'm the Wutong Curator of Chinese Art at the Museum of Fine Arts here in Boston. I had studied art as an undergraduate as well as Chinese, and then I ended up going to the Central Academy of Arts in Beijing. And though I had wanted to study painting, Chinese painting, while I was there, I was actually put in the Chinese art history course. Suddenly, I was exposed to the wonderful history of Chinese art and Chinese painting, and got excited about that history, got interested in all different types of Chinese art. 2,500 years ago? I wrote a book and put together an exhibition at the same time and traveled it around the United States. And before I knew it, I suddenly was a curator of Chinese art. I have been involved in a project in the Forbidden City for over the past 10 years. The project is the Qianlong Garden Conservation Project, and advisor to World Monuments Fund, who collaborates with the Palace Museum on this project. We discovered more things behind other artworks that had been hidden for 250 years that were in absolutely perfect condition because they had been covered up for so long. And we were able to bring these to the United States. When I look at Chinese art, I think of it as Chinese visual culture, not just fine art. I look at visual objects that are created by all different types of people within a society. That it's not just the fine artists with the well-known signatures, but it's also people in the countryside who are making patchwork quilts for their beds, or it's people making woodblock prints because they can't afford to have original paintings hanging on their walls. Chinese society is very rich in visual culture, and I think it's important to recognize everything that contributes to our visual surroundings.
During this year's 9th BRICS Summit in Xiamen, traditional Chinese tableware at the welcome banquet caught worldwide attention. It also evoked real nostalgia for traditional Chinese culture. Now let's meet Huang Chunmao, the creative mind behind all those designs.
Themed China Waves, the set of dinnerware used at the state banquet of the BRICS Summit, combined traditional Chinese blue and white porcelain with cultural hallmarks of the host city, Xiamen. The elegantly made tableware showcased the Chinese hospitality and helped welcome dinner guests to the Vista for Peace.
Rich in tradition, China should welcome foreign heads of state with classic culture and rituals. The waves I used here are Chinese style, peaceful and pleasant. They're different from the Japanese style, which is more ferocious, while the waves in European art appear as more realistic. At the same time, the blue and white porcelain reflects the edges of Xiamen's coastline, so the design is very Chinese, very ethnic, and very local. It can bring China to the rest of the world.
The state banquet at the 9th BRICS Summit expressed Chinese etiquette in every detail. Its tableware included a total pieces covering 1 entry, 4 appetizers, and 5 main courses. Huang says he tried to keep the design simple and classic.
State banquet dinnerware usually includes numerous sets. As for the big pieces, I chose to use simple patterns with a straightforward visual impression. The smaller ones are similar to the main sets, but when you look at them, you'll find the details vary.
It's not the first time that Huang has designed dinnerware for state banquets. His art has shined on welcome tables during several high-level international occasions, including the 2014 Summit of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, the 70th anniversary of the Chinese People's War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, the 2016 G20 Hangzhou Summit, and the 2017 Road and Belt Forum. The traditional Chinese tableware at the 2014 APEC meeting first stirred the global surge of public interest in Huang's designs. Enamel-coated porcelain, widely used by the court of China's Qing dynasty, decorated the tableware during the banquet at the National Aquatic Center. The designs were inspired by ancient Chinese wall paintings. The yellow color in the background was traditionally used by Chinese royalty. Each tableware included 68 items. It took Huang and his team more than 7 months just to finish the blue.
因为当时的会是在水立方游泳厅，
For a state banquet, we have to consider its atmosphere as a whole. This banquet was held at the Water Cube, which is very spacious. For such a large room, if we use light colors, they would not have matched with the grand ceremony. So we chose bright yellow, the imperial color. It was also a good fit for Beijing, a city known for its imperial palaces. The floral patterns were also traditionally classic.
After graduating from Jingdezhen Ceramic Institute in 1996, Huang Chunmao went to the United States to further his studies, began his career at UNESCO's Ceramic Art Commission. Huang says the experience informed his understanding of how to balance reservations and his designs are influenced by modern and postmodern artistic styles, and meanwhile have a strong sense of tradition.
When traditional culture appears in modern life, it's not just a hallmark of the past. It's in the consciousness of the entire nation and its people's mentality. It's a natural calling.
Huang's designs help expose the world to classic Chinese culture and etiquette, while at the same time leading Chinese people back to their spiritual homeland that has long been ignored. Sun Wei, CGTN.
Still ahead on today's show, America's 2017 Country Music Awards kicks off with heartfelt calls for unity and understanding after a year of devastating gun violence and divisive politics.
So we can change everything.
And dancers in southwest China's Yunnan province use performance art to share stories about the origins of China's Hua ethnic people.
If you talk about your research life in Tanzania with the chimpanzees, what do you think is your most important success out of that 38 years?
Because biologically chimps are so like us, you know, the DNA and the immune system and the anatomy of the brain and everything, that enabled me to push the fact that, and behaviorally, they're so like us as well, and finally began to accept it.
You shifted your focus from being a scientist to being an environmentalist.
We can't try and protect the chimpanzees suffering. We need to improve the lives of the people so that they want to help us conserve the forest and the chimpanzees because they see the value of it. Every day we make a difference, and we have a choice as to what kind of difference we're going to make today. When it's millions, billions of people all making more ethical choices, then suddenly, wow, we're moving towards the sort of world that I'll be happier to leave to my grandchildren.
A land full of natural resources and ingenuity, where millions are embracing a vibrant middle class, divided by politics, but united hope. Latin America is changing rapidly. Witness the change on America Now.
You've tuned in Culture Express on CGTN. Welcome back. One of the most popular violinists in the world has given audiences in Beijing a real treat. Itzhak Perlman recently performed to a packed house at the National Center for the Performing Arts. Now, with 15 Grammys under his belt, it's no surprise that the violinist was invited to play at former U.S. President Barack Obama's inauguration. Li Qiong reports.
This one stop of Itzhak Perlman's last Asian tour. The 72-year-old violinist enchanted his audience in his capital with 3 pieces by Franz Schubert, Richard Strauss, and Claude Debussy. The nearly 2,000-seat concert hall was a full house on Thursday, filled with fans of the legendary musician whose talents have an unexpected source. Perman says he sees types of food upon hearing different music pieces.
And sometimes the sound is different than others. You know, some of the sounds is more lush, some of it is more pure, some of it sounds like an orange, but someone else sounds like what? I'm not saying one is better than the other, but they're different. When I conduct an orchestra, when I listen to somebody plays, I said, don't sound like yogurt. The sound of the yogurt is pretty good, but not enough fat. Watermelon is very thin, nice, pleasant, but it's not as solid as let's say in the fudge.
Born in Israel in 1945, for his entire life, Perman has been playing the violin while seated due to polio. He began his studies in Tel Aviv after hearing the violin being played on the radio when he was only 3 years old. He then moved to New York and was soon propelled into the international arena with an appearance on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1958. Perseverance and talent catapulted him to fame as one of the best violinists in the world. He has been a soloist for a number of film scores, such as the theme of the 1993 film Schindler's List by John Williams, which subsequently won an Academy Award for Best Original Score. Perman has garnered 15 Grammy Awards. In 2008, the artist was honored with a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award in the recording arts. Mr. Perman has been active on stage for more than half a century, gaining a large fan base across the world. People love his charm, his humanity, and his talent. Just like tonight, concert halls are always packed when he shows up. This is his last Asian tour, which also takes him to other Chinese cities including Shanghai and Taipei. Li Qiong, CGTN, Beijing.
Interpreting music with food. I like his style.